Hello everyone, welcome to Radically Loved Radio. I wanted to create a place where people can go to get inspired, get motivated, or find some clarity and get tools to create a radically loved life. I will do my best to provide information on a variety of subjects, including yoga, holistic health, life coaching, spirituality, meditation, and overall mindful living. Each episode will bring you some of the world's best spiritual leaders, entrepreneurs, yoga teachers, coaches, along with some of my closest friends, and we will talk about their life experiences and journeys to create something more out of their lives and how they continue to grow to make that happen. Thanks for listening. Hello everyone, welcome back to Radically Loved Radio. I am so excited for today's guest. Chandresh Bhardwaj is a spiritual advisor, author, and speaker. He's based in Los Angeles. He travels the world and holds guidance sessions throughout Europe, Asia, and the Americas. He hails from 7 generations of Indian spiritual healers, and his experiences lend to teaching his philosophy, which combines ancient wisdom with a modern approach to spirituality. Chandresh is a disciple of his father, His Holiness Sri Chamunda Swami, who is a universally recognized authority in spirituality. His grandfather gave him his name, which fittingly means Master of Consciousness. Today, we're going to talk about his book, Break the Norms, that's a national bestseller, and just a little bit about what got him to where he is now. And I can't be grateful enough to have spent some time with him. He is an incredible teacher, and he has shared so much of his philosophy and insight with me, and I can't wait for you all to get to know him more and to read his book. Here you go.
Your presence here. So when I got to know about you, I was like, wow, how come I missed this person? And when I got to know we are talking on Thursday, I was really happy because I did not know. I was just following you. And I know you were following me back, and I did not know why we were doing that. I just got to know about that a few days ago.
It was we can just thank the universe for that.
Exactly.
And the world of social media.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so grateful for social media. It connected me with so many good people. You are one of them now, so it's wonderful.
Oh, I'm so excited. Well, let's talk about you, because I really want my audience to get to know you and to just hear a little bit about what you've got going on and your teachings and your book. That's an incredible book called Break the Norms. It's a bestseller, and I'm so excited to share that with my audience, with my students, and with everyone in my life. So the first question I want to ask you, well, actually, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
So I'm from India. I was born in a family of spiritual teachers. I was born in a very small town of North India. I grew up in India. I went to school in India. And although, I did my schooling in India, but I never honestly had interest in formal schooling. I was obsessed with spirituality. I was obsessed with knowing more about meditation. And I think one of the reasons was because I was surrounded by, meditation teachers, spiritual teachers all the time. My father is my teacher, and my father's teacher was grandpa. And it goes back to 7, 8 generations. I'm the 7th generation teacher now. I did not know I'll become the 7th generation teacher, but, that's the role that I truly feel universe has given me. I did not, plan this. This just happened.
And now you're taking these teachings to the entire world.
I try to, when so I was always pulled toward this direction. I went to New York City, for my college. I'm double major in finance and accounting. But I was constantly pulled toward writing, toward speaking, toward, talking about these things. And I couldn't make any sense out of it. And my father is a person who doesn't force me. He never forced me before. He doesn't force me now to do, what I want to do. He's always there to guide me. Mm-hmm. But he's a big believer in giving me the freedom to, experience failure and success on my own. And I just, that direction constantly pulled me. And one day I realized I'm teaching meditation. I'm helping people to discover their potential, to, heal their emotions. And then I started traveling. I started getting calls from different countries, different people, and I just started following my intuition, my, inner guidance, I guess. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And I
that's
mean,
how it started.
that's a big change from going to accounting and finance to becoming a spiritual leader.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so do you remember the moment where you decided or you felt the calling? I mean, coming from 7 generations of Indian spiritual healers, I mean, it almost seems like it just would seem natural to you, but obviously you went a little bit of a
Mhm.
different route initially. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So when I was, in India as a little kid, I was always inclined towards spirituality, but I did not know I can do this as a profession. So I was constantly doing other stuff while learning spirituality, and there was no one single moment that where I would say that yes, that changed everything. But I think after I got into New York, I joined my job in Wall Street. There were tiny moments every day when I used to ask myself why I'm doing this job. I'm not happy here. Uh, the only good part was money. About Wall Street job, I was making good money. I was investing in stock market, and but I was not happy. I wasn't fulfilled, and I used to constantly ask myself why I'm doing it. And these tiny moments eventually became big. They piled up. I wasn't answering this question. And I remember I was, going to apply for MBA, and that looked like a big commitment to me, from time point of view, money point of view, and I realized this is going to be big. I can't take a U-turn if I do MBA because that's big investment. Then I'll be doing a job to repay my loans or to just, go through that process that, I invested so much money and time in MBA. So I have to do a job in Wall Street for another 5 or 10 years. And that cycle may never end. So I have to make a decision to go further or stop here and finally pursue my passion. Uh, so I was 22, I think. Yeah, I was 22 when I decided not to study any further. I was done with my graduation, but I decided not to do MBA and instead, join my father's organization, assist his organization, and kind of learn practical ways to use my spiritual training. And that's when I decided. It's been 8 years now. I turned 30, last month.
Well, happy birthday. Happy
So
belated birthday.
thank you, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the lineage that you come from. So I know that it's you come from Tantra, is that correct?
Right,
And so,
right, right.
yeah, so Tantra is not what the Western world thinks it is. So how do you define Tantra?
hmm So I'm sorry. I define Tantra as a science of self-realization. Tantra literally means technique, and it means technique of self-realization. And I grew up among Tantra teachers. My father is a Tantra teacher, and I have to tell you, something really interesting that happened. When I moved from India to US, I would share with people, in college and just the people I meet every day that I'm student of Tantra, and they would start to look at me as if I said something forbidden, that as if it, Tantra is a word not to be said out loud. And I remember I went home, I Googled, I looked up on Amazon, and everything that was coming was just soft porn. There was no spiritual stuff. It was all a playboyish kind of books, soft porn DVDs, and I realized what was happening. And I called my father. I said, "Dad, did you train me to be a sex therapist? If that's the case, we can talk about it." And he said, no, in Indian traditions, kids don't talk about S word openly. It's very, it's kind of conservative there. We don't discuss sex openly. And when I mentioned that, he said, no, that's not the case. Uh, and then we talked about it, why the Western world is obsessed with just the, sex part of Tantra.
Right.
So here's the thing, Rosie. Tantra means technique of self-realization, And as a human consciousness, we experience sexual desires, anger, ego, greed, attachment, all these emotions. And Tantra says none of these emotions are your enemies. None of these elements are against you. They are within you to help you, to sail you through this journey. And you got to tap into it. You got to use these elements to experience your higher consciousness. And Tantra gives you practical ways to meditate. I mean, there's one scripture of Tantra, one thought, one school of Tantra where they teach you 112 meditation practices. And each technique deals with your element. It could be sexual energy, it could be anger, ego, greed, whatever. But everything that you and me go through as a human being, Tantra deals with all. Tantra doesn't teach you to escape a certain part of human life and label it as spirituality. It says live everything that you are dealing with, but add meditation with it, add awareness with it. Indulge in things, but with awareness. Because when there's awareness, the indulgence doesn't go wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been studying Tantra for the last 4 or 5 years with my teacher, Yoga Rupa
Really?
Raj
Wow.
Striker. Yeah, he studies with Pandaji Rajmani Tiganayat. So I've been fully, immersed in these teachings and these practices. And I agree with you. I think that for the most part, I love to hear leaders like you speak about Tantra in that way, because it makes it more accessible, and it breaks it down in a way that people can understand it and aren't afraid of it, or don't think that it's just about sex, because ultimately, I mean, when I talk to students, or I talk to, people, that's the number one thing, right? That's the first thing that people think it is, so yeah, I think it's a beautiful practice, and a beautiful teaching, and a beautiful scripture.
It is.
So
Yeah.
what issues do your students reach out to you for the most?
I think a couple of issues relate to relationships, stress, anxiety. I think these three have to be the most frequent occurring issues: relationships, anxiety, and just stress of day-to-day life. There's a lot going on in everybody's head, and they can't process it. And I feel these three things come up a lot.
Yeah, I think that it's such a huge, especially now in the current state of our culture, or just the current state socially. I think that those are really big issues. One of the things that I find in working in the health and wellness industry, as a yoga teacher, is stress, right? So like, this is the number one cause of everyone's tension and everyone's illnesses is stress. So what are some ways that we can begin to break the patterns that set us into this place of tension or stress?
hmm So I feel stress is a symptom of what's happening within you. Stress is telling you something is wrong within you. So instead of, a lot of people escape the stress by, maybe working out, maybe going for a movie, going for a party. But that's a temporary escape. When you stop working out, or when you stop watching that movie, or when you come back from that party, the stress, again shows up because it's not gone. The symptom is still, that's the symptom. The root cause is still there. The root problem is still there. So you got to deal with it, from deeper within you. And number one thing has to be acceptance, self-acceptance, acceptance of yourself as who you are. Accept your emotions, accept your demons, your flaws, and be all right with it. I feel in this first stage, either you can be brave enough to just write down your own flaws and your own challenges and be all right with it. If you have a friend, if you have a guide, a teacher who can, walk you through it, that helps. Because most of us don't want to deal with our darkness. We don't want to deal with, that suppressed emotion, that suppressed part of ourselves. So I help people, by first of all, I have to walk them through what's, you know, what they have been suppressing all through these years. What is it that they don't want to talk about? That gives them a lot of stress. They have certain ideas about becoming something, and that idea is given to them by parents, society, friends, religion, media. It comes from all places. They got to accept that they cannot become something or someone. They just have to be who they are. If I have to be a spiritual teacher, I can be a spiritual teacher who's like me. I cannot be a spiritual teacher who looks like some national bestseller. I have to be me, right?
Yeah.
Because it has happened with me. We both live in LA,
Right.
and you can imagine, people here try to make you a version of someone else, right?
Right. Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I remember, people would tell me, you're a spiritual teacher, you have to, talk like that person, dress up like other person, and do it, walk like this person, because then you'll be looked upon as a spiritual teacher who's, this bestseller author and stuff. And I said, I think I'm going to lose my mind. I need a therapy myself. I realize I'll need a therapy myself if I start to follow these guidelines. We have to be ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think stress comes from that place when you don't accept who you are.
Oh, that's so right. And it's so true because I mean it happens in every area, it's
Every area of life.
yeah, every
Absolutely.
area. So, it's like if you don't embody that who you are, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
just fully accept that, then I think that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
biggest causes of that stress.
Exactly. You know, I have to tell you something. Before this interview, I was on your Instagram, and I was, just looking at your pictures. You were in your element, and now it makes sense. You are a Tantra student. You're a Tantra teacher. It makes complete sense because you are. I mean, look at this laughter. This doesn't happen to everyone.
Well, I
I
got a little nervous just
Tantra.
now when you said that. I was like, "Uh-oh." Uh-oh.
I know I admire you for being who you are. You are you, and I think that's your strength, and that's why I connect with you. That's why I admire you. And the more you become you, Rosie, the less stress you'll have, right? I mean, we all know that.
Yeah. Yeah,
And my job with people is simply to help them realize, just relax. You know, don't try to, run left and right. Just stay in this present moment and accept your emotions, accept your challenges. You have a story. You are not your story. You have a thought. You are not your thought. So just, play that separation. Play your role. Don't become your role.
So, do you think that that's the number one reason that keeps people from achieving their dreams is that?
In my experience, yes, that's one of the number one reasons. People are not accepting their own individuality. I know a lot of people, Rosie, who may become successful in their in their life in what they're doing, but they keep following a certain model, a certain idol in their head, and they try to become a mimicry of that person. You know what I mean? They're just trying to be a version of that person or that brand, and that's why they lose their own fragrance. They lose their own strength. And I keep reminding people, you have to get yourself, out of your way. You have to allow your energy to flow itself the way it wants to flow.
What are some ways
You
that
know,
somebody can do that?
the number one way is to be comfortable with your stillness, be comfortable with your strengths, and be comfortable with your weaknesses. The idea that you don't have a weakness, that's a wrong idea. And if I seek spiritual wisdom into it, the navel chakra, the navel center, that's where our self doubt lives. That's where our self esteem, our fears, our anxiety, and also our confidence, our creativity lives. So I help people. I share with them. I encourage them to meditate on their navel chakra as much as they can, and that simply means keeping your fingers around the navel center and inhaling the breath, holding it, and gently exhaling it out. And repeating it consciously, inhaling, holding, exhaling. Just by doing this for a good few minutes, relaxes you. It, brings you in the present moment. And then I make them ask one question: who am I? And when you ask yourself, who am I? Don't worry about finding the perfect answer, because obviously there's no perfect answer. But keep asking yourself, who am I? And witness all the responses of your mind. The mind will tell you tons of things, but your task is not to accept any answer, but simply be a watcher, simply be a witness to all the answers. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So, and there's a mantra in Sanskrit. It says neti neti, means not this, not this. So if I ask myself, who am I? And my mind says, you are depressed person, I have to say neti neti, no, not this, not this. And if it says you are a divine being filled with unconditional love, I'll have to reject that also. Neti neti means reject every thought that your mind throws at you. If you start accepting the positive ones, then you cannot escape the negative ones either, because then there's a fight between negative and positive. When you reject the responses of mind, you have to reject every response. You cannot be selective. And once you reject all the answers of mind, then mind shuts down and it goes empty, and that's when your consciousness starts to talk. And when consciousness talks, it talks wisdom, it talks business, it tells you what you're supposed to do. And I've experienced it, Rosie, tons of times. I mean, I ask myself, who am I, when I'm going through my own challenges? And mind will tell me tons of answers. I keep rejecting, I keep watching, I keep rejecting. And then suddenly mind goes silent. And then the awareness, the intuition, it starts to tell me the right guidance. It works out eventually, but you have to take the right step. You have to be willing to listen to the truth.
I love that. I love that so much because it's so true. And even studying this, I mean, even for the people that have never practiced meditation or practiced yoga, I mean, those are questions that I think are important to ask. I mean, these are important questions to ask ourselves constantly, not just when you're struggling, right? It's to be constantly present of who and what you are at every moment. Wow, yeah, I think that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Can we talk a little
Not
bit
a
about
problem.
break the norms? Because
Absolutely.
because I think it's an incredible book, and I think that every single
I love
person
your
should.
laughter. I think I'm going to record that for my meditation.
I'm just gonna walk around and tell everyone,
Absolutely.
please get break the norms, and then I'm gonna start laughing. You
Thank
will
you.
you will get a fun laugh out of it. Let's. Can you please tell our audience who wrote the foreword for your book?
Okay. So, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, he wrote the foreword, and I'm forever, grateful to him. Not just this lifetime, probably every
I
lifetime,
mean, okay,
if
but
I can
just
remember.
just in, just in case everyone didn't hear that, His Holiness the Dalai Lama wrote the foreword for this book.
It's been such a great blessing for the book. I couldn't process it. When I got the forward in my hand. I mean, when I got the news, I was happy. I couldn't process it, but I was like, let me receive it in the hand. And it was a long process. From his office in that small town of Dharamshala, India, it went to New Delhi. From New Delhi, it reached New York. From New York, I got it in LA. And when I held that, page in my hand, it was, on his office stationery with his stamp on it.
Oh,
I couldn't process it. I, I constantly asked myself what I must have done in this lifetime or past lifetime to have such a blessing on my first book. Uh, it changed everything about the book. It changed the way I look at my own book. Because his blessing, the things he wrote, uh, that's very special for me. I'm forever grateful to him.
wow.
And yeah, and then Deepak Chopra added more light and shine on it by endorsing the book. I mean, these two, I mean, these are the bosses of spirituality,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So when they both blessed the book, I literally told myself that I promise to work hard and live up to their expectations, because they both have trusted me with such a big responsibility, and I'm grateful to both of them. And that's a big reminder for me, not just today or tomorrow, but I think for rest of the life, that my first book was blessed by these two amazing people.
Wow, that's so incredible. I mean, I feel so honored to just even speak about it and have you on
It's a blessing.
here.
Yeah,
This
I know
is
what you feel.
Yeah, this is so incredible. So tell us a little bit about what inspired your first book.
So the idea of break the norms was within me for a long time. I grew up in India. It's filled with diverse religions, and people blindly believe religion. I grew up in a spiritual environment. So I was constantly picking up the things, the questions, the challenges of seekers around me. And I thought maybe these challenges are in India, only in Eastern traditions. But when I moved from India to New York, I saw people have same challenges. They just have different way to express it, different labels for it. So I was constantly making notes about what's giving trouble to people, what's blocking their success. And I realized the number one problem is people are not comfortable breaking their conditioned pattern. They are blindly accepting the old dead traditions of relationships, love, sex, death, ego, God, and they're not questioning it. And that's why they're in that limited pattern. That's why they live in this box. And if someone can dare to question these conditioned pattern, if someone can truly revolutionize how sex, God, ego, death is looked upon, I think we can change everything. And these little ideas formed the book. This book definitely wasn't planned in few months. It was years that I was just writing notes for fun, for my own curiosity, and I did not plan to write the book. Obviously, when I started scribbling the notes, I just thought I'm doing it for my own curiosity. But the book really started happening a few years back when I thought I have enough material and it has changed my life. I think it's time to share that with the world, because I was already writing articles for newspapers, for magazines, for different blog sites, and it all got great response. So that motivated me to really plan the book. And when I got the book deal, I finished the book in few months because it was boiling up in me. I really had to bring it out.
So how
So
long
it,
was
it
the
worked out.
process? How long was the process from when you started to the final product? It came out in January, correct?
It came
January.
out this January.
Yeah.
I mean, I finished the book. I think in 6 months. It was very effortless the way it was coming out, because these were the things I was talking for years and years. I was learning for years and years, and I was just so happy to finally put that in a book, to finally structure it, organize it. So I was done in 6 months. Then the publishing process takes place. They edit it, they take your suggestions on different things. So overall, it took a little more than 1 year. But I was, as a writer, I was done in 6 months.
Wow. And what was it like when you got the finished product in your hand?
That was, you know, beautiful. I mean, when I got the product in hand, it felt I literally as if I delivered a baby. It was that kind of happiness. I felt how a parent would feel, I think, that day. Uh, and I still remember, when the book was, when I got the book, I was super happy, very grateful. And few weeks later, it was going to be launched in public. It was going to be released. And I, told someone that I'm feeling as if I've raised a daughter and now she's, going to her place.
Right.
She's going to leave me. I mean, I felt so emotional. about the whole process. I was, I think, very invested in this book. I was emotionally too involved in this process. And I may or may not be that emotionally involved with the other projects. I'm not sure yet, but this one definitely had my emotional energy, all my attention, because I think that's who I am in heart. If I'm not feeling passionate or excited about something, I just don't do it. I cannot do it. So break the norms, you know, really extracted that fire, that energy in me.
Oh, that's so great. I can't wait for everyone listening to pick it up and read it and send us some feedback and let us know how this book is changing your life, because it will. Can you can you talk to us a little bit about why I've heard a couple of your lectures. You've got a couple on YouTube. You also have a YouTube channel. Why do you think intention is so important?
I think intention is important because let's take example of driving. You know, if you want to drive somewhere, and if there's no final destination on it, you'll keep on driving. You'll keep on using the fuel, your time, money, energy, but you're not reaching anywhere because there's no address in the navigation. But the moment you put the address, you have a specific destination where to land, right? So intention works in the same way. In Eastern traditions, we call it sankalpa. Sankalpa means intention of your soul. It's not just a goal. It's much deeper than that. It's where your soul is destined to be. And without intention, your actions, your meditation, your day-to-day life has no meaning. You have to have certain intention behind everything you do. You know, in corporate world, they may call it mission statement. What's the mission of this business? And in spirituality, we call it intention. Your meditation has to have one intention where exactly your energies are moving. Because when you're clear about where you want to reach, then universe, divinity, it all surrounds you. It protects you to reach to that intention, to manifest that intention. The trouble is a lot of people don't have that intention. And I always mention in relationships, people have intention only up to a certain point, and then they have no clue what's going to happen and what they're supposed to do. Maybe the intention is to get married. After they get married, they don't know what to do. So they enjoy the honeymoon for a while, then maybe they have kids, but then the boredom starts to happen because they just don't know what to do. There was no intention to begin with. So you have to have intention in day-to-day life, in your relationships, in spirituality. Everything you do has to be backed by a specific, clear, positive intention.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I just have a couple more questions, and I don't want to take up too much of your time because I have a feeling we can probably stay on for a long while. Because I want to ask you like a million other questions. So we'll just have to break it up into part two. Do you have, just before I ask you the last final questions, do you have any events or any retreats coming up where some of the listeners can come watch you live or come study with you?
Sure. So there's a couple of things. I mean, I do Facebook live videos every week. So anyone can participate in those videos from anywhere. Secondly, I have my meditation app and my online course launching anytime this month. The meditation app is about, it's got my meditation crafts. You can meditate with me wherever you are. The online course focuses on meditation, anxiety, and all those things that can help you find peace. That course will be launched end of this month, hopefully. And I have 2 retreats coming up next year to India and to Bali.
Yes.
And to those who are joining from your group, anyone who's listening to this podcast, they will get a scholarship just because they're listening to Wonderful Rosie.
Oh, look at that. That's so exciting. Yay. I might actually take that scholarship. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm taking. That's really exciting. And I will be linking all of Chandresh's information on the notes for the podcast through my website. So I will, and also on YouTube, because all of Radically Love Radio interviews are now on YouTube. So for people that don't have iTunes or
Great.
SoundCloud, they can just watch podcast interviews on YouTube, so they can subscribe to the channel. And we will soon be having videos, so we'll be doing one-on-one. And so Chandresh already agreed that he's going to come back on, so you guys can watch
Absolutely.
us together and just laugh for an hour. So I will be sure to link all that up. So I'm really excited, and I want to thank you so much for doing this and for just honoring me and us with your presence and your teachings. Just two more things. I have a question from one of my students. So I have a little focus group where I have this focus group of students that listen to the podcast, and they know ahead of time who's coming on. And so they, will suggest certain questions to ask my guests. So one of the questions that one of my students wanted me to ask you was, what sort of advice can you give to someone who's stressed out about money? Is there a certain type of meditation that she can do?
Okay, that's a very interesting aspect. I'm actually planning to write a book on it, not the second or third book, but probably fourth or fifth book, because money is such an important part of our life, and most of us are not comfortable, with the idea of money and how to make it, how to spend it, and what exactly to do with it. So, I think in meditation, first of all, I would recommend you to look at money as a form of energy, and to look at money as an abundant source. It's infinite. That's number one thing. Secondly, you have to be very comfortable with the incoming of money and the outgoing of money, because the moment we become insecure about receiving money or giving money, the flow blocks. And the moment you have certain suppression about money, how to spend it, or if I should not, use it, if I should only save it, money is not meant to be, preserved or treasured somewhere in a secret box. You have to spend it in a mindful way, and then it keeps on recycling itself. That's the most important mantra that I have learned about money, and Eastern traditions are big on it. That in your meditation, you have to give energy of flowing love to the money, and flowing love means you have to rotate it mindfully. Don't treasure it in some secret box, because then it's going to really blow up. It's not going to help you. It's not going to multiply. And you have to look at money as positive source of energy. If you look at money as something negative, something evil, then your whole life is going to be messed up. Because honestly, even right now we are talking, Rosie, I'm using this phone technology. You are using the technology and phone. We are able to do that only because of money. You have to pay fee to the online sources where you put all these podcasts. Money is needed there, right? So you have to look at money as a super sacred form of energy, and you have to make a conscious effort to rotate it mindfully every day. And in meditation, what you can really do is basically give your energy of love, strength to the money. In Eastern traditions, there's a goddess Lakshmi. She's the goddess of wealth. She's the goddess of material abundance. And people actually meditate on her pretty much every day. And on 30th of October is her big day. That's when entire India meditates on the abundance, the wealth, because it's meant to be worshipped, it's meant to be meditated, and it's meant to flow like a river, and then it keeps coming back and it keeps multiplying. Does that answer the question?
Yes. Yes, it
Yeah.
does. Thank you so much. Yes, I think so. And I think I agree with everything that you're saying, and I think it's really great advice. Thank you. So we will close with one final question for you.
hmm
And I ask this to all my guests. What do you radically love?
I radically love connecting with amazing beings like you. When I started Break the Norms, I made this commitment to myself that my real job is to connect with, conscious rebels, conscious light beings who are willing to change the world, who are willing to, create a revolution within and around them. And whenever I find one, I bow down to them. I surrender my energy to them that, maybe I can contribute something to it. So I truly, radically love connecting with beings like you, and I truly mean it.
Oh, Chandresh, you're the best. Thank you so much. How lucky. We're so
Thank
lucky.
you.
You will be seeing Chandresh and I just perusing around Los Angeles, just changing everyone's lives.
Absolutely.
Or attempting
Absolutely.
to anyway. So thank you again. Thank you so much for being
Thank
on.
you.
I can't wait to do another one and to go to one of your retreats. That's going to be amazing. I'm so excited. Thank you again for everything.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Hey everyone, for more information, visit www.radicallyloved.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Rosie Acosta and on Twitter at Rosie Acosta. If you have any questions, email info@radicallyloved.com. Thanks for listening.